Good morning, future leaders and champions of progress. I'm here today to talk to you about culture. Culture is extremely complex and it's ever evolving and changing. But what is it that actually keeps us going? It is who we are, it is how we've become and what we've become. If you look at the definition of culture, it is actually a sum total of your values, beliefs, customs, and traditions. And irrespective of where you are at a particular point, a culture is who you see. The who you are and what you've become is something that you cannot really change because it takes a long time for you to be the way that you are. But how you see the world, that is why I'm here today. Contrary to popular belief, culture is not a one-size-fits-all concept, and rather it's a spectrum of diverse interactions where multiple subcultures can actually coexist within a culture. Let me give you an example. I'm Indian, in case you didn't notice, and my husband is also Indian. So when we were dating, after a while, he decided that I should meet the parents. And irrespective of culture, trust me, meet the parents is a big deal. So we were meeting, and in my culture, to give you a little bit of context, we always touch feet when we want to take blessings, when it's something which is important, when it's function, anything that you do, you swoop down, you touch feet, you take blessings. And that's how I've been brought up. And cut to the situation where I'm meeting my boyfriend's parents. Instinctively, what I do is I swoop down and I touch their feet. And much to my dismay, their response is, no, 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 no. And I'm like, oh, okay, sure. And it throws me off completely. And I'm like, oh my God, they don't like me. So for the longest time, it went on in my head. Longest time now, retrospectively, was close to maybe 5 minutes. But those 5 minutes were life-changing for me because I thought that they really don't like me. Later on, I figured that it is actually in their culture that girls don't touch feet. And it had nothing to do with me. It's just the way that they've been brought up. Boys touch feet, but girls do not touch their feet. So early on, I learned in my life that you need to do your homework and you need to do it well. One size definitely does not fit all. My interest in culture further deepened when, after working for 10 years, I went on to do my MBA. And on my day one in B school, my Greek professor in my Swiss college tells everyone that, oh, we have Indians in the class. You guys better be prepared because Indians know how to study, they're really competitive, they really know how to write. And yeah, so you see. And for a minute, you are taken aback that, oh my God, what an amazing introduction on your day one, and what a way to start off and make friends. But he wasn't really wrong because he actually had data to prove that that's how Indians had been. And he honestly wasn't wrong because I was the top MBA student. But think about the pressure. Like if you hadn't been in the spectrum and if you were, let's say, a deviation, it just puts in so much of pressure because people think that you will really do well in your exams or you will really study, and you may not. So what I did after that was that it is really important to be sensitive to cultural dimensions, and I did my entire work post that on culture and how it can actually help. So like I was very graciously introduced, and she did say that I was a hotelier by profession. I brought in culture and hospitality. I understood that culture was a very important aspect. And there are many ways that you figure out that you can actually build cultural sensitivity. Sam spoke a few minutes before I did, and Samantha, and it was amazing because yes, that is what you need. You need to educate yourself. You need to get out there. You need to be exposed to different cultures. You need to read. You need to present yourself in a way that, you would be open to accepting and understanding what goes on. You challenge stereotypes, which is extremely important. You have to be aware of your own biases because we all have them. You really can't change that. but your assumptions about certain cultures may not be true. You have to understand that cultural complexity can exist within the same culture, and individuals may deviate from generalizations. I am Indian, I might always show up on time. Maybe my Sri Lankan counterpart is extremely motivated and wants to study and is always there and driven. And I do have a German friend who is not always on time. So there isn't really a one-size-fits-all concept here again. But the only way that you can actually get better is to listen and observe and see what the others are doing and ask questions. As long as you're respectful in your asking questions, nobody minds answering. And you do understand that people would be more than happy with you to share their insights and experiences about their own culture, as long as there is empathy, which would mean that you are actually in somebody else's shoes without really stepping on their cultural toes. And it can really work out well. You also need to engage in cross-cultural experiences, which in an environment like this, is very easy because you are exposed to so many different cultures. You just have to be open enough to go out there and understand, why does a person behave the way that he or she does? And once you've understood the why, your response to the situation also becomes so much easier because you know what actually goes behind. The best way to actually get a broad understanding of culture is something which is called the cultural framework. This is a little into technicals, but I really thought that you would appreciate if we shared this and we went on with it. So there was this sociologist in the late 1960s, early 1970s called Gert Hofstede. I'm sure most of you would have heard of him, or some of you would have. And his life's work was also to do with culture. So he actually studied employees in IBM who were over 50 different cultures, and he developed a basic framework which would help people you could slot people into cultures. Again, not a one-size-fits-all, but gives you a broad perspective and a generalized view of a certain culture. So we can actually put it up for you, and you can use it for your meetings or your events, or when you're inviting people over, or you're going into a conference with the unknown, and you have a meeting, let's say, with 4 Germans and 1 American in the same room. Do you treat them the same way? Yes, let's throw in confusion. Let's throw in an Indian in the mix. Let's have a Chinese. And you're like, oh my God, what do I do? And that has happened with me when I walked in, and you realize that you really have to keep evolving and changing because you don't know the correct way to respond. So here is this tool in which you can go in. It's very easy. You just type in hofstedinsights.com and you go into country comparison, and let's take my favorite countries. Let's take India, and let's take something completely different. Let's take United States of America. And let's compare them. And you can actually do it with multiple countries. You can put in your country of choice, and it gives you all these parameters under which you can read and you can understand what you expect. Something really basic, an Indian or a Southeast Asian would expect small talk. Hey, how are you? Hope you're good. Everything good in your family? It's all good? I've learned it the hard way. You have to do that. But if you do it in a culture which is a very let's get to the point culture, they will be like, yeah, everything is fine. My wife, yeah, she's okay. And it's strange. Why would you ask me about my wife in a meeting, right? But that's the way that you are. So next time you have a boardroom with multiple cultures, you're not confused that, oh my God, this person is so rude. He's not rude. That's the way he was brought up. That's his culture. He thinks that this is what he's supposed to do. So these are the basic dimensions of culture. I'll quickly go through it so that you have a rough idea. So there's power distance, which means how comfortable are you with the notion of somebody else in power. So hierarchy. So India and US actually has a very straight example. India is here, very, very comfortable that, yeah, okay, that's my boss, they'll do it, hierarchy, push the paper, get the paper working. And US, which is right there because it is all geared with individualism, you have to take charge of your own and ownership, and it is about me, and I need to do it. It's not let me get back to you with my team. And that's what it is. This will help you in future college applications, in understanding why your Greek professor actually said that, oh, you have Indians in class, you have expectations, there are certain notions which come along with being the way that you are and the way that you look. Masculinity versus femininity, which means whether you actually derive joy from what you do or what the job gives back to you. And uncertainty avoidance, again, is very close. It's actually very interesting because although you have individualism, uncertainty avoidance in this case, India, would mean that, you know, with things changing, we were supposed to start at 11:15. If you don't start, it's okay. You're evolving. It doesn't stress you out. As a culture, you are taught that improvise, change, keep going, it's okay. It doesn't have to be exactly by the book. Right? And very interestingly, United States is also pretty low on this. And you would wonder why. This mixed with individualism gives them an edge because you want to do the best that you can. You want to push yourself to a limit where maybe nobody's ever been. So you would do inventions, you would do discoveries, you would push yourself into doing this because culturally that's what's taught. But we know better now. We are going to teach our children and the next generation that it does not really matter on culture. This is not what you're taught. You can push yourself because you can. And that's what we are teaching. Long-term orientation means that you can actually, how much about the future do you think? Right? And we all know that, you know, you live in the moment, you want to think about future, you want to have savings, you want to make plans, which are 10-year plans, 5-year plans, or you want to talk about tomorrow, 3 months, 6 months. That's what that is. And indulgence here would mean that you have to, it's the level that you enjoy what you have. Is it okay to treat yourself? Is it okay to actually take out time for yourself and spend the money or spend the time, make memories? And in these broad 6 dimensions, you can actually put in any country of your choice and it would give you, and in case you don't really remember what I said, you can always go down and click on the dimensions and they would tell you where you are. So the next time you walk into a multicultural environment, you are not taken by surprise. You know what to expect. And a broad way, again, not a one-size-fits-all, not a generalization. There would be deviations on both sides, but this gives you a rough idea about what to expect. And as parents of kids who are moving into a time where we have no idea where the internet is going, we have no idea how the entire thought process is going to be, we have no idea what courses they would study in 10 years' time. The only thing that will actually, one of the things that will actually keep them going and give them an edge is if they are sensitive towards knowing who they are and how they see the world. And we all have cultural biases, but as long as we are aware of them and we avoid making assumptions about people, I think it is all good. So be humble and stay humble, be respectful, and you've got it all. Thank you so much.